Today we step inside a moment America never expected to witness inside the halls of Congress, broadcast live across every major network. Donald Trump turned toward Barack Obama and said, "You're no longer relevant. Leave this room." The cameras froze, anchors whispered, and for a split second it looked like Obama might walk away. But he didn't. He asked for 5 minutes, just 5. And in those 5 minutes, the nation heard something deeper than politics. He spoke of the Supreme Court, of money flowing in the shadows, of gifts handed behind closed doors, and of what happens when leaders forget the people who gave them power. This wasn't a speech. It was a warning that if justice isn't transparent, if power isn't honest, trust will break. And when the people's trust is gone, even the strongest empire can fall. The question today isn't just what Obama said. It's whether Trump's allies and the judges he shields will face that truth or try to bury it. And before we begin, let me ask you, where are you watching from today? Drop it in the comments. California, Texas, New York, overseas, wherever you are, your voice matters because the story isn't about one man or one party. It's about whether America still belongs to its people. If you want the truth, stay. If you believe justice matters, share this once. The 5 minutes that shook America, start here. Let's go. Today, the story begins inside the most watched chamber in America, the House of Representatives. Every seat was filled. Every camera light was burning, and every news anchor whispered the same words. This moment right here will define what comes next. Donald Trump leaned forward in his chair, arms crossed, face hard. Across from him, Barack Obama sat in quiet stillness. The two men had faced off before, in elections, in debates, in history books, but never like this. Inside Congress, under oath, with millions of citizens watching live, the gavel struck, murmurs silenced, and then it happened. Trump's voice cut through the air like a hammer. "You're no longer relevant. You don't help this country anymore. Leave this room." The words carried a force that stunned the chamber. Democrats gasped. Republicans stiffened. Networks from CNN to Fox ran their lower third banners almost instantly. Trump tells Obama to leave Congress hearing. For a few seconds, the room was frozen. The only sound was the hum of cameras capturing every blink, every twitch, every breath. Viewers at home leaned closer to their screens, unsure whether they had just witnessed the end of Obama's presence in American politics or the beginning of something bigger. Obama did not flinch. His posture stayed calm, eyes steady, lips pressed together in a line that suggested patience rather than defeat. Then quietly but firmly he raised his hand. 5 minutes, he said. "Allow me 5 minutes." The room rippled with tension. 5 minutes. The request seemed simple, but the weight was enormous. What could a former president possibly say in 5 minutes that would matter? What could he deliver under the glare of hostile eyes that would reach the people beyond those walls? Trump's jaw tightened. He leaned back as if dismissing the request with silence. A few MAGA allies shook their heads and muttered objections. "He doesn't belong here. This is out of order." Others laughed under their breath, confident that Obama would walk away humiliated. But outside the chamber, America wasn't laughing. Online hashtags erupted within minutes. Number 5 minutes. Number Obama v. Trump. Number voice of the people. Millions of viewers typed furiously, debating whether Obama would retreat or whether he had something to unleash. Inside, the speaker hesitated, glancing between Trump and Obama. The gavel didn't strike again. The air itself seemed to wait. Obama adjusted his tie, leaned into the microphone, and repeated, slower this time. 5 minutes. Not for me. For the people, the phrase lingered. For the people, it was more than a request. It was a challenge, reporters scribbled. Producers whispered in earpieces, and anchors prepared for what could be the most quoted 5 minutes in modern political history. Viewers at home were transfixed. Families in living rooms, workers in break rooms, students streaming on their phones. No one wanted to blink. Trump finally raised his hand and waved with a dismissive flick. 5 minutes, he muttered. Go on, then get out, gasps. The concession was small but symbolic. The camera zoomed in on Obama's face. He nodded once, looked down at a thin stack of notes he hadn't touched, then set them aside deliberately. He wouldn't be reading. He would be speaking from memory, from conviction, from the heart. The clock began 5 minutes. Obama's voice started low, steady, almost measured. He didn't begin with accusations. He didn't strike with anger. He began with a truth that no one could deny. A nation survives not because of the man who sits in power, but because of the trust of the people who gave him that power. A rustle swept through the chamber. Democrats leaned forward. Republicans shifted uncomfortably. Trump's eyes narrowed. This isn't about left or right, Obama continued. It's about whether Americans can believe that their government is honest, transparent, and willing to face accountability. If they cannot, then what are we but a hollow structure, grand on the outside, crumbling within? The words reverberated, striking harder than any partisan attack. In 5 minutes, Obama would not play by the usual script. He would aim straight at the soul of the republic, but not everyone in the room wanted that truth heard. A MAGA member interrupted. This is irrelevant. He's no longer president. Obama paused. He let the interruption hang. He did not snap back. Instead, he looked directly at the man and said, "Justice does not expire when one leaves office. Truth does not expire when one leaves power." The chamber quieted again, a silence heavy enough to hear the scratching of pens across paper. Across the country, Americans watching live began to comment online in waves. Some wrote, "I never agreed with him, but he's right about this." Others said, "This is the warning we needed to hear." And still others, "Is Trump even listening?" Inside the chamber, Trump crossed his arms again, clearly agitated. But Obama wasn't addressing him alone. He was addressing the nation. "You can dismiss me," Obama said evenly. "You can ignore me, but you cannot ignore the people. And the people are watching right now. From California to New York, from Texas to Michigan, from every corner of this nation and even abroad. Americans are listening and they are waiting for leadership that respects their voice." The words seemed to leap from the microphone into living rooms and phone screens. Viewers leaned in, captivated. Some began recording clips to share instantly, certain that what they were hearing would trend within minutes. Obama's 5 minutes had barely begun. Yet the chamber already felt different. This was no farewell. This was no retreat. This was the framing of a test, not for him, but for the system itself. He leaned forward, hands clasped, and with deliberate calm, he said, "I'll use these minutes not to defend myself, but to defend the idea that justice must remain transparent, that leaders must remain accountable, and that the people, the very water that carries this nation, must never be silenced." The final line of his opening remarks echoed as though the walls themselves absorbed it. Viewers online flooded comment sections with a single phrase, "5 minutes for the people." And with that Obama prepared to move into the heart of his message, the Supreme Court, the shadows of money, the corruption threatening to erode trust. The 5 minutes had only just begun. The chamber was silent as Obama leaned closer to the microphone. He had made his opening clear. 5 minutes not for himself, but for the people. Now came the heart of his warning. When a nation looks to its courts, he began, it expects fairness, not favors. It expects justice, not justices who are shielded from scrutiny. It expects integrity, not influence bought behind closed doors. The sentence landed like a hammer. Every word was deliberate. On television, split-screen graphics flashed with images of the Supreme Court building, marble steps gleaming, a symbol of law itself. But Obama was not speaking in abstract symbols. He was pointing to cracks in the foundation. He continued, "The Supreme Court should be the highest guardian of our democracy." But what happens when the guardians themselves are questioned? When reports show undisclosed gifts, when lavish trips are hidden, when powerful interests slip through back doors? Whispering promises no citizen is allowed to hear. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some MOA allies shook their heads, muttering baseless. Others scribbled notes furiously. Trump shifted in his chair, lips pressed thin. Obama let the tension grow, then pressed forward. "We've seen the headlines. We've read the reports. Judges accepting luxury travel. Undisclosed financial ties, favors dressed up as friendships. These are not just stories. They are receipts of a broken trust. And every time that trust is broken, the people lose faith in the very court that defines their rights." The words slice through the silence. Even the cameras seem to zoom tighter as if to catch the flicker of unease crossing the faces of those in power. "For years," Obama said, voice steady, "we have told Americans to believe in equal justice under law. But if justice is for sale, if influence is hidden in the shadows, then that phrase is nothing more than four empty words carved in stone." At that, a Republican senator rose slightly, attempting to interject Mr. Obama. But Obama did not yield. He raised a hand gently, not in defiance, but in insistence. "This is not about party. This is not about politics. This is about the contract between the governed and those who govern. Break that contract and you break the spine of democracy itself across the nation." People watching live held their breath on social media. Clips spread instantly. "Justice is not for sale" became the new trending phrase. Comment threads filled with Americans debating whether Obama was right, whether the courts had slipped too far into the shadows. And yet Obama wasn't done. He leaned in again, his voice lower, almost intimate, as if speaking directly into the homes of millions. "Ask yourselves who benefits when money buys silence, who gains when gifts buy loyalty. It is never the people. It is the few, the powerful, the connected, the ones who see democracy as a stage to purchase, not a promise to protect." He paused. 6 seconds. Cameras caught Trump shifting uncomfortably, eyebrows furrowed. "And so I ask you," Obama said, eyes scanning the chamber. "If this Congress truly serves the people, then why have we tolerated such shadows? Why do we allow the guardians of justice to be guarded only by secrecy?" The question rang out unanswered. Some in the chamber glanced nervously at the press gallery. Journalists scribbled faster, knowing every line could be tomorrow's headline. Outside, hashtags multiplied. Number "Justice not for sale." Number 5 minutes. Number "Voice of the people." Obama's tone hardened. Not angry but resolute. A republic is not destroyed in one day. It is eroded piece by piece, gift by gift, silence by silence. And when the people finally realize what has been taken from them, it is often too late. The silence after that was heavy, like air before a storm. He turned his gaze back toward Trump. "So I will ask you directly, Mr. President, will you stand with the people or with those who use money and influence to bend justice? Will you demand transparency from those who sit on the highest bench? Or will you turn away because accountability might reach too close to home?" The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, mega allies pounded the table, calling out of order. Trump clenched his fists on the desk, his face turning red with frustration, but Obama did not raise his voice. He remained calm, every syllable sharp. "This is not an attack," he said evenly. "This is a call for integrity, for transparency, for justice that belongs to the people, not to the highest bidder." The chamber settled into uneasy quiet. Some lawmakers, even across the aisle, lowered their eyes, unwilling to meet his gaze. On TV, anchors whispered, "Obama is laying down a direct challenge." Analysts speculated in real time this could be one of the most consequential 5 minutes in congressional history. Obama exhaled slowly, then continued, "And let me be clear, the people of this nation are not naive. They see the patterns. They know when justice bends, and they will not accept a system that hides behind robes while trading favors in the dark." The line struck deep. Online comments poured in. "He's saying what we've all felt. Finally, someone is calling it out." Obama's 5 minutes were halfway gone, but every second carried the weight of years of silence breaking open. He leaned forward once more, his eyes steady, his voice steady. "Justice, if it is to mean anything, must be transparent. Leadership, if it is to be trusted, must be honest. And democracy, if it is to survive, must listen to the people before it listens to power." The words hung in the air like a verdict. Trump shook his head, muttering something under his breath. A few allies clapped sarcastically, but the chamber as a whole remained still. Obama did not let the disruption derail him. He clasped his hands together, looked across the faces in the room, and closed this section with a sentence that would carry into the next. "And this, my fellow Americans, is not just about the court. It is about every channel of influence, every hidden fund, every shadowed exchange that tells the people their voices do not matter. That is the disease we must name before it consumes us." The chamber quivered. The 5 minutes were ticking away, but the weight of his words had already spilled beyond the room. "And this, my fellow Americans," Obama said, "is not just about the court. It is about every channel of influence, every hidden fund, every shadowed exchange that tells the people their voices do not matter. That is the disease we must name before it consumes us." The word disease carried weight. The chamber stiffened on live feeds. Captions echoed his phrase in bold letters. Online comments surged. "What disease is he talking about? Say it louder." Obama leaned back slightly, his voice deliberate. "This disease wears many faces. It appears as a gift offered quietly with a smile. It appears as a fund dressed up with patriotic names, but fed by money that expects something in return. It appears in the handshakes at midnight. The donations routed through shell companies, the checks that are signed in shadows and delivered behind closed doors." A low murmur ran through the room. MAGA members whispered among themselves. Trump's eyes narrowed, but Obama pressed forward. "Call them what you want. Super PAC, dark money, private gifts. The people know what they really are. Bribes dressed in better clothing. And when these funds seep into the bloodstream of government, they poison trust at every level." The gallery fell quiet again. Obama continued, tone steady but razor sharp. "When lawmakers are bankrolled by billionaires with secret interests, when justices are courted by trips and favors, when officials trade accountability for access, we no longer have government of the people. We have government of the paid." The phrase "government of the paid" landed hard. Anchors on live television repeated it instantly. Commentators typed it into headlines in real time. Trump shifted in his seat, muttering to an ally. "He's grandstanding," but his eyes betrayed irritation. Obama didn't look away. "I will not list every receipt. The newspapers have done that already. The investigators have uncovered it. The people have read it. They know who accepts what and from whom. But what they don't see, what they are never shown, is accountability." He paused. 6 seconds. Cameras lingered on faces across the chamber. Some pale, some blank. Because every time these funds flow unchecked, every time gifts are excused as harmless tokens, the people are told one thing. Their voice matters less than the wallet of the wealthy. And when that message repeats long enough, trust dies. The line sparked a ripple through social feeds. Hashtags multiplied. Number of the paid. Number 5 minutes. Number trust dies. Obama leaned forward, eyes locking on Trump. And I ask you, Mr. President, what will you do when the donors whisper in your ear? Will you silence them or will you silence the people who question them? The chamber stirred again. Shouts of out of order rose from mega benches, but the speaker did not strike the gavel. The nation wanted to hear the answer, even if Trump would not give one. Obama's voice did not waver. Americans do not ask for perfection. They ask for fairness. They do not demand saints. They demand servants who remember who they serve. They do not expect gifts to buy justice, nor funds to bend law. They expect leaders who understand that democracy cannot be mortgaged to the highest bidder. He glanced across the room, sweeping the rows of lawmakers and justices alike. And yet too often what we see is the opposite. We see leaders. Some in this very chamber who laugh with donors while ignoring the cries of their own communities. We see justices whose calendars are filled with private flights but empty when it comes to public accountability. We see movements branded with slogans that run not on principle, but on pipelines of hidden cash. A sharp silence fell. The words were not aimed at one man. They were aimed at the entire machinery. This disease is not partisan. Obama said it has infected both sides, but it grows fiercest where power is protected by silence, where loyalty is traded like currency, where justice is treated as a prize to be bought. For a moment he let the chamber absorb it. Then he struck again. The people do not care if the money comes from left or right, blue or red. They care that it comes at all. They care that it whispers louder than their own voices. And they care that those they elected seem to hear everyone except them. Viewers at home leaned forward on social media. Americans echoed exactly. He's saying it plain. Our voices matter. Obama's straightened voice rising slightly, not in anger but in clarity. The disease has a cure. And it is not more secrecy. It is not more excuses. It is transparency. It is accountability. It is leaders willing to say, no, I will not take your gift. No, I will not bend for your money. No, I will not betray the people who trusted me. Trump bristled. A few allies groaned audibly, but others in the chamber sat in uneasy stillness, knowing the cameras were catching every reaction. And so I returned to the question. Obama concluded, his voice tightening, eyes fixed on Trump. Will you stand against the disease, or will you let it spread until no one in this nation believes in justice again? The chamber quaked with the weight of the question. For a moment, it seemed as if even the cameras dared not move. And then slowly the interruptions came again. Mega voices called him irrelevant. A justice shifted, visibly agitated. Trump leaned forward, preparing to respond. But Obama had already drawn the lines. He had named the disease. He had demanded the answer. And now, with only minutes left, he was ready to press even deeper into the very heart of accountability and the test of leadership that could no longer be delayed. Trump leaned forward, slamming his palm lightly against the desk, his voice cutting through the chamber. This is nothing but theater. You had your chance. You failed and now you want to lecture us. The room erupted. Mega members clapped and jeered, voices overlapping, trying to drown out the moment. The speaker raised the gavel, but it hesitated in the air, suspended by the weight of history unfolding. Obama didn't flinch. He waited. He let the noise play out like a storm exhausting itself. And when the echoes began to fade, he leaned toward the microphone, his tone calm, surgical. You call this theater? The people call it their reality. They live with the consequences of leaders who trade accountability for power. They live with courts that excuse corruption and officials who protect themselves instead of protecting citizens. That is not theater. That is betrayal. The words struck with precision. Even those jeering fell silent for a beat, unsure how to answer. Obama pressed on. And you speak of failure. But failure does not belong to one man. Failure belongs to a system that looks away when integrity is compromised. Failure belongs to those who laugh when justice bends. Who shrug when gifts are exchanged. Who tell the people, sit down. Be quiet. Your voice doesn't matter. That is failure. Trump shook his head violently, muttering into the microphone. You don't belong here. Obama locked eyes with him. Mr. President, belonging is not measured by titles or offices. Belonging is measured by service to the people. And the only reason I stand here is because millions of Americans right now are demanding that their voices be heard. They are the ones who belong and they are the ones you cannot silence. The chamber froze again. A 6-second silence spread heavy and undeniable. A MAGA member leapt in shouting, "This is disrespectful. He is undermining the presidency." Obama turned toward him calmly. Respect is not silence in the face of wrongdoing. Respect is truth spoken even when it is inconvenient, and the presidency is not undermined by questions. It is undermined when questions are refused. The murmurs grew louder again, but this time Obama's words were already echoing online. Millions of viewers typed the phrase, "Respect is truth." It became the newest trending highlight. Obama steadied himself, his voice carrying the tone of both teacher and witness. For too long, accountability has been treated like an option, something leaders can grant or deny. But accountability is not optional. It is the foundation of trust. Without it, the people see only impunity, and impunity breeds contempt. He let that line sink in. The speaker lowered the gavel but still did not strike. The nation wanted to hear this through. So I ask this chamber, Obama said, sweeping his gaze across. Lawmakers and justices alike, what are we teaching the next generation? That power is a shield against scrutiny. That money buys silence. That loyalty to a faction is stronger than loyalty to the Constitution. He paused. Or do we teach them that accountability is not a threat, but a promise that justice is not just a word carved into marble, but a living principle enforced every single day? For a moment the air itself seemed thinner, as if the room had been stripped of noise, stripped of excuses, left with only the raw weight of the question. Trump broke the silence. His tone mocking, "You speak pretty words, but words don't govern. Power does." Obama's reply was instant, sharp. Power without accountability is tyranny. And tyranny never lasts because the people always eventually rise. Gasp swept the room. The line cut deeper than any statistic, any report. It was the kind of sentence destined for textbooks, for replay clips, for generations to quote. Even some lawmakers who opposed Obama found themselves unmoving, unwilling to break the gravity of that statement. Online, the reaction exploded. Number power without accountability. Number truth is respect. Comment sections flooded with Americans writing, "He's right. This is the warning we needed." Obama leaned back slightly, his voice softening but sharpening in focus. "Do not mistake my tone for anger. It is resolve. Do not mistake my words for attack. They are appeal. Appeal to the only authority that matters in a democracy." The people, the chamber grew restless. Some MOGA members tried to interject again, but their words were drowned not by applause, but by the heavy silence of cameras recording every twitch, every pause, every avoidance. Obama looked directly at Trump again. "You say I don't belong. I say no leader belongs above the people. No judge belongs above the law. No official belongs above accountability. That is the truth. And whether you accept it or not, it will remain long after this hearing ends." The chamber erupted once more. But this time it was not pure chaos. It was fracture. Some lawmakers clapped, others jeered. Many stayed still. And across the country, Americans were watching. Some with tears, some with clenched fists, all with the sense that something was shifting. Obama lowered his tone for the final time in this section. The disease I named is real. It thrives in silence. It grows in secrecy. But today, in this chamber, before this nation, I choose to confront it. And I ask you, all of you, will you do the same? The question lingered like a verdict. And with that,